Hi everybody, I hope that you're all doing really well. So today I am back to film the Cozy Autumn book tag. This was originally created by Lucy over at the Book Bell and I was tagged by the lovely Claire Femby to do it. This tag is all about celebrating the wonderful time of the year that is autumn and the coziness that it brings. I definitely think that autumn is my favourite time of the year just because I like getting all wrapped up, I like being able to put my big jumpers on and my big boots, I like being able to walk around and see all the leaves change in colour. I love the colours, I love the cosy vibes, I love like beautiful smelling shops, and I love the build up to Christmas. So yeah, it's definitely my favourite season of the lot. So as we can see, I've got my little berry lip on and I've got my most autumnal looking dress on, so I feel like I'm well prepared for this. So let's get into the questions. The first question is, what book always reminds you of fall or autumn? And for me, coming up with answers to these questions was a little bit difficult because I'm not particularly a very seasonal reader. I don't tend to read things based on what it looks like outside. You know, I don't think, oh, it's autumn, so therefore I'm going to read some spooky reads, some creepy reads. I don't get to summertime and think, oh, let's have some like nice chilled beach reads. So I often find like these seasonal videos a little bit difficult. However, when I was trying to think of books that really have that autumnal atmosphere down, I often think of the Bronte sisters. Maybe it's because I'm from West Yorkshire that they automatically pop into my head. And I feel like maybe it is a little bit stereotypical to think of autumn and winter when you think about the Brontes and the Yorkshire moors. However, I think it's a stereotype for a reason. I think the Brontes are just a classic in evoking this very autumnal, creepy, gothic atmosphere. And in fact, I believe that Claire used Wuthering Heights for this question, so for myself, I am going to go for Jane Eyre. I feel like between the initial school setting of Lowood and then when Jane moves over to be a governess at Thornfield Hall, with its kind of gothic appearance and creepy corridors and the woman in the attic, spoiler, and thinking about Jane looking out onto the Yorkshire moors and just seeing fields for as far as the eye can see and feeling very isolated. I feel like this is the perfect autumnal read. Question number 2 is, what is your favourite autumnal book cover? And for me, I had to give that to The Binding by Bridget Collins, the original hardback edition. I mean, just look at it, just the leaves everywhere, the gold, and then of course I know I bring this out every single time I mention beautiful books, but you've got the end papers with their autumnal peacock kind of design, and then that. I will never get over how beautiful the book design is for this. And the story itself has that little bit of intrigue and mystery, and it does feel like a very autumnal read, even though every time I read it, it's summer. You see what I mean about not being a particularly seasonal reader? I read the creepy stuff in summer and then the lighter hearted stuff in autumn, and it makes sense in my brain. Question number 3 is the first non-bookish prompt, and it is, what is your favourite autumnal drink to read with? So my standard answer for this kind of question is typically tea. However, if I do want to give myself a little autumnal treat, I'm a very big fan of white hot chocolate. This is just the standard Whittard's luxury white hot chocolate. However, I know they also have a white hot chocolate that is like a sticky toffee pudding flavoured one, which is delightful. And I just long for the day where we are able to go back to shops and be able to get some of the tester samples of the hot chocolates, which obviously we can't do right now, but when that day comes, I am straight there. Question number 4 is, do you prefer to read late at night or early in the morning? And I'm not gonna lie to you, I cannot remember the last time that I woke up early in the morning to read. I don't think it's necessarily that I prefer to read late at night. I think that's just when reading happens. I'm just not up early enough to do it, especially since we got into lockdown. My sleep schedule has been all over the place. Though I think I would feel very, very productive if I did get up very, very early and started reading, but it just doesn't happen. Question number 5 is, Halloween is coming. What is your favourite spooky read? This is probably the question that I have the hardest time with because once again, I don't read things that are particularly creepy or spooky. So I started to think of some of the more classic creepy books, and what I came up with was Turn of the Screw by Henry James. This I actually studied for AS level. I can't remember if it was for coursework or exams, but I remember this is such a creepy, mysterious little book. It has this like very throwaway framing device where people are gathering around a fire and telling each other creepy stories, but then the majority of the story is about this governess who ends up going to look after these 2 creepy little children, and we start to think that there are ghosts and we don't know, is it all in her head? Are they actually there? I've actually not read this since I was about 16 years old, so this might be a book that's due a reread because it is just a short little thing. And then also I wanted to mention Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, one of my favourite books of all time. Though whenever people say that this is a spooky book, I always want to counter that. For me, what I love about this book is that it is much more philosophical and it's much more an exploration of like the meaning of life and education and how we treat other people who are different to ourselves. However, when I was thinking back on reading this book, when we do get to this like big climax point where the monster and Frankenstein are now enemies, it is genuinely terrifying. It is really, really tense. And it does suddenly become much more of a horror because you are just waiting for like the big showdown to happen. So I feel like I just had to recommend this for my favourite like spooky read, because even though I think the majority of it is not particularly spooky, those last like 150 pages or so are very tense. Question number 6 is, what is the ultimate comfort read for you? So I wanted to think of books that I come back to over and over again, and I feel like especially recently the book that I have to answer for this ultimate comfort read, it seems to be Pride and Prejudice. And the thing is, I know that this is one of my favourite books of all time, however I've just started to notice how often I do come back to this story when I'm wanting a bit of comfort. I feel like it's between this and Emma that are really my two comfort classics. I have very recently, as in the past week, been reading 2 different Pride and Prejudice retellings. We know that at the beginning of the year I read The Other Bennet Sister, which is right there, and is one of my favourite books that I've read this year, if not my favourite. And yeah, something about wanting to get like cosy and comfortable and go back to an old tale that I know, but with a little bit of a twist, meant that these 2 books called to me. Clearly there is something about this story and these characters that I just find so comforting. I just love this story so much that I want more of it somehow. I also feel like a rewatch of the BBC miniseries and the 2005 movie are definitely in the works. Because yes, I do love both of them, and I'm not going to pick my favourite between them because I like them for different reasons. And actually thinking about it, this past week I also rewatched the entirety of the Lizzie Bennet diaries and Emma Approved in pretty fast succession. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that I like Jane Austen as a comfort read. Question number 7 is, what is your favourite autumnal reading snack? Now originally I didn't think I had an answer for this. However, what popped into my head for this were these lovely little cinnamon sugar waffles that I used to be able to get from my university, which for the life of me I have not been able to find outside of my university Nisa. But they were these individually wrapped cinnamon sugar waffles, and you just put them in the microwave for like 10 seconds and they are glorious. Glorious. I feel just generally any sort of like cinnamony, sugary baked good I will be very, very happy with. Question number 8 is, what is your favourite autumnal candle to burn whilst reading? And this was quite a timely question because I recently just put in an order for new candles and they came the other day and I absolutely love them. These are from Malari Candles. I got this one which I haven't quite cracked open yet and started burning. It is Warm Cinnamon Roll. However, the one that I have been burning and that I am absolutely loving is this Waffle Stack candle, quite fittingly with the last question. This just smells like a caramelly, syrupy waffle and it is beautiful. And also it has a very powerful lingering scent. I think I burned this for about an hour, maybe 2, about 4 or 5 days ago, and I've not had to burn it since because the smell is still in my room and it's delicious. Question number 9 is, when you're not reading, what is your favourite autumnal activity? And I feel like right now, especially because we're in that kind of like semi-lockdown, what are we even doing? I feel like I'm not really doing that much, and especially not outside, which is very typical for me. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm quite an indoor person. So I feel like at the moment, the main autumnal thing that I'm doing is watching Bake Off, because Great British Bake Off is back and oh, we deserve it. After this year, we deserve it. We've just had the 1 episode aired so far and already I feel like the universe is going back into order and we're all being a bit nicer to each other and it makes you feel like things are getting better, even if they're not. I can't quite name any favourites yet, but I was really, really feeling sorry for Sura. And it's amazing how within the space of about 10 minutes, you already feel yourself having such an affinity for these people, because Bake Off is just, it's so delightful and everyone's so nice. If Bake Off hasn't already infiltrated your life, number 1, what have you been doing? Number 2, I think you should make this year the year that you do. And finally, question number 10 is, what is on your autumn/fall reading list? Now, I did actually do an autumn TBR video a couple of weeks ago, so I'll link that down below in my description box. However, I also wanted to show you my latest book acquisition. This is Before the Coffee Gets Cold, Tales from the Cafe by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. This is of course the follow-up to the much loved Before the Coffee Gets Cold, and I believe this just tells little extra short stories from this cafe in which you are able to time travel within the confines of the cafe only to see people who have met you there, and you must return back to your present day before the coffee gets cold. I read the first book pretty much this time last year, so I feel like it has a bit of an autumnal feeling in my mind just for the association of when I read it, so definitely want to get to this very, very soon. So those are all of the questions to the Cozy Autumn book tag. I hope you've enjoyed seeing some of my answers to this. I hope you've enjoyed my little festive autumn garb. Please do let me know of some of your autumnal book recommendations, any candles, any snacks, anything that you want to tell me about. I hope you're having a fantastic, fantastic day and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks, bye!